Hey everybody, welcome back to the Half Hour of Power. I am Joe and Brandon is here.
Yo, Joe, what do you know?
Hey Brandon, how are you doing? You having a good week?
I am excited. I'm excited over the movie that we're getting ready to talk about today.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good. Everybody should be excited about that.
Mm.
What movie are we talking about? I forgot. I was just kind of talking.
Well, uh, it had many names. It was many names. It was released in a lot of different countries. We were talking about Count Dracula, mostly known
Oh,
for
yes, we are. This movie, that's right. That is the title of the movie, Count Dracula. This is the Jess Franco Count Dracula movie from 1970.
Yes, sir.
You and I were talking a little bit beforehand about what Jess Franco movies we've seen, and I think this is the only one I've seen. I might have seen one or two others, but I haven't seen a lot of Jess Franco movies.
I haven't either. This is only the first and only Frank movie I've ever seen.
Okay, well, this 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 does star Christopher Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And did you get to decide what you want your guesses to be for Rotten Tomatoes? So, what do
Uh,
you think the get that ready right now? And what does the critics say about this movie? Critic score.
the critic score on this movie, I'm gonna say, and I'm trying not to be biased because I like the movie myself. I'm gonna say it's 76.
0.
Huh?
Well, there's not enough reviews for them to put it up there, but there is one review, and the reviewer loved it. So
Yay!
you can say that it is certified fresh with a critic score of 1.
Yay!
So there you go. So the audience score, there is over 1,000 ratings from the audience. So what can you guess that the audience did?
Well, if it's 1,000 ratings, it had to be a good 99.
You sure about that?
Okay, 96.
I'm glad you're sitting down. Wait a minute. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
All right. 45.
Ow, that crushed my soul.
Oh, I know. Now, this uh this one is supposed to be closer to the book than a lot of the others. It's one of the reasons Christopher Lee agreed to do this. He was tired of doing Dracula by this point, and he said he would do this if it followed the book closely, if it did a better job of following the book. And yes, Franco said, we are. And he did that, and it sort of follows the book, but like all the others, it veers off into weird territory. Yeah. So, did you get any farther in the book since the last show?
uh, kind of no. I kind of got to like chapter 14. 14.
14. That's a lot farther than chapter 3.
I know. I meant to say like in the middle of chapter 4. I'm in the middle of chapter 4.
Okay. All right. So
But
there you go.
fun fact, I heard that Christopher Lee actually did it because he get to wear a mustache.
Yeah, this is the only time he wore a mustache playing Dracula. And that's one of the simple things. We were kind of talking about this on the other two Dracula shows we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, the Dracula starts out as an old man with a mustache, gray hair. And then as it progresses, as he starts his plot to move around, he gets younger
All right.
because he starts doing what vampires do, drink blood. Well, that's a simple thing to do, and every single one before this, every single movie before this could have done that, and nobody did it. If I have my info right, this is the very first one that did it.
Technically, it would be the only one that did it.
Well, it's not the only one that did it. But it be well, and we're going to get to this movie also, but the Francis Ford Coppola movie did it also.
No, that was like towards the end. It wasn't in the beginning.
Well, in the very beginning, and this is an odd choice for that movie too, for a movie that is going to be that's supposed to be the book, the definitive version. He's dressed in red and has his hair up in a bun, and he's an old man, and he has no mustache.
Yeah.
In Francis Ford Coppola's version. And then, if you recall, once he leaves the castle and he's in London, he's a young man with a mustache. So I don't really understand why they decided to dress him up that way, but we'll get more to that when we get to the movie.
Yeah.
This one, the Count is dressed correctly. He's got some old man makeup on. It's pretty subtle. It doesn't look hindering at all. It doesn't look like, oh, look at Christopher Lee in old man makeup.
All right.
That's stupid. There's nothing like that. It's really well done, pretty subtle. He looks great. He's got gray hair, got the gray mustache. The castle's pretty sparse. I mean, the opening scene of this is one of the best. I mean, just like we're saying, most of the opening scenes of every Dracula movie is the best, and then it just goes downhill from there in almost every one of them.
It's like they stick to the book on those parts, so then after that, it just start to fall down.
Yeah, and it might be because that's really the most. It's told from one character's point of view. It's told from Jonathan's point of view.
Right.
Whereas the rest of the book is told from many different points of view. You have Dr. Seward's diary, which he keeps on a recording. You have Mina's diary. You have letters from Van Helsing. You have newspaper clippings, and then you have letters from other people, like other solicitors and such. It's all different points of view. And I think I'm just spitballing here, trying to. This might be because this is the most one point of view, the most straightforward part of the book. Is just my guess. But even this goes off the rails pretty quickly in the beginning. I mean, it's pretty neat because he travels. You know, he does the traveling and he talks to the villagers and they tell him he shouldn't go. Well, actually, they don't tell him he shouldn't go. None of them say you shouldn't go. They just say you're doomed.
Yeah, there's like,
why aren't they stopping him and saying you shouldn't go there because he's a vampire? Or you think they were afraid that he was going to say, you silly superstitious peasants?
Well, to me, they kept saying it's St. George's Day.
Yes.
Like that.
And that was
a big. I thought maybe it was like
you got through that part in the book, remember?
Yeah, what the thing is when they kept saying it, the way how Jonathan's faces looked like he didn't know what they was talking about.
That's right. Now, we'll talk more about this when we get to, because they do this in Coppola's version. They actually do this. Mm-hmm. They play up a little bit on the St. George's Day stuff, and they show the lights in the woods as the coach is moving towards Castle Dracula. They don't do that in this one. There is something in here that they do that I really liked that I don't think they do a lot. And if they do, it's very hardly at all. So on the coach ride to the castle, you see Christopher Lee. He's dressed exactly like Bela Lugosi from the opening. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
He's the coach driver. He's got the black mask around the bottom half of his face. He's got the cool hat and the coat. but the wolves start chasing the carriage, and Dracula gets down and shows that he commands the wolves,
Uh-huh.
and all the wolves disperse. They don't really do that much in the movies, and that's a big thing in the book.
Well, that was the first time I ever seen that in the movie.
Exactly, exactly. And you've been watching ahead, right? All the Dracula movies we're going to do, you've been kind of watching ahead.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I kind of like this one a lot better. It's not a love story. Count Dracula is not a love story. This
Yeah, they continually do that. They go, oh, it's one of the greatest love stories of all time.
right. This
Dracula
one
is
do
trying
that.
to go and do some conquesting, and not of women, but of the human race in the
Mhm.
book. He's not really there to find his lost love.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, he's trying to do some things and take over the world, and you did not get to the part of the book where we're still talking about the wolves. So this is where this question is going. You didn't get to the part of the book where Jonathan tried to leave and he walked up to the door and Dracula said, "If you want to leave, you can leave." Did you get to that part?
No.
So in this was cool. Jonathan, he's like, "Well, you can leave. Just walk right out the door there, bud." And he hears wolves all around outside. Jonathan's ready to go and he's gonna leave. Dracula calls all the wolves to the castle. So if Jonathan leaves, the wolves are going to eat him.
Yeah, of course.
And he's like, okay, I guess I'll stay because I don't really want to be eaten by wolves. So he keeps him there that way. And I've never seen that in a movie. I've never seen that in a movie.
No.
But I just thought it was neat that they showed up his control of the wolves and how they obey him. And again, Christopher Lee in this, if it just makes me sad again, because like if you would have given him Bram Stoker's book as a movie, he would have nailed it because he nailed it here. He's got
Yeah.
that great speech that they rarely do. I think I've only seen it twice, and this one was a longer speech where he talks about his ancestry and where he came from.
I
They did a
definitely
little
about
bit
to get
of it in Coppola's version. They did a little bit of it, just a little snippet of it. But
yeah.
Christopher Lee delivers that so beautifully in this.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. It's a long passage in the book.
But
So they
still
cut it down a little
great.
bit in this movie, but it was still great.
Yeah.
And I know you had to have gotten past that part in
Yes, I did.
the book.
Because when
So,
Christopher started to say it, when he was like, my ancestors, in the bloodline from
Chilla.
Matilla, I said Matilla. Wow, I'm hungry. He said that, and I was like, wait, what? And then he started going down. I was like, oh snap, okay. Yeah, it really pulled me in because of the fact that it wasn't rushing through it.
Yeah.
It was get through things, and yeah, I know they did some cuts here, and it did follow the book to me from parts when I have read. So mine's is strictly from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
So the beginning of the movie follows the book pretty well. All the way up to this is rarely in the movies also. Where they show the gypsies out in the yard working because they're the ones who were filling all the boxes for Dracula. He didn't do that. The gypsies were out there filling all the earth boxes for him, and
yeah,
they helped him deliver those. So I couldn't tell how many boxes in this, but in the book it's 50 boxes.
I remember you telling me that. I think I only seen like 2 boxes in there.
Yeah, it was like just seemed like 2 or 3 boxes or something.
Yeah.
And you have the gypsy lady come in there crying for her child.
Yeah.
You see the baby in Coppola's version, but you don't see the gypsy lady. I don't remember if you see the gypsy lady crying for a child in that movie, and we are going to watch that again, so I'll get to see that. We'll see that again and see how good my memory is, which it's not great. So that's why we got to rewatch all these. You see her crying for her baby and banging on the door for the baby, and that's a great scene in the book that they rarely do. So it's nice to see those little touches, and this one gets a lot of those little touches that they miss
Oh yeah.
in the other movies. And this threw me. I don't understand why they did this. In the book, Jonathan explores the castle and goes and looks around and falls asleep where he isn't supposed to. In this movie, Jonathan is in his room and then he wakes up somewhere else. You remember that?
Yeah, that's when he wakes up in that crypt.
He wakes up in the crypt and there's the three wives.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of follows the book a little bit. Um, where they're trying, they say the cool lines. Oh, he is young and supple or something. There will be kisses for us all. And then Dracula shows up. Oh, he is mine, which that was pretty cool. What'd you think of that?
Well, it kind of freaked me out a little bit because when it was coming out of the coffins, it looked like ghosts.
Yeah, that was a pretty neat way to interpret that.
Like, is it? I don't remember seeing that in the book, but okay. So when they did that, I was like, oh, this is like 1931's Dracula.
Yeah, so and you can see that. Yeah, see, they did that one, but the hammer one that we talked about, that wasn't done that way in that.
No,
No,
because the Hammer one only had one lady.
Yeah, just one bride. And then that's where he gives his brides the baby.
Yeah, yeah,
She does give them the baby in Coppola's version. And then Jonathan wakes up again back in his room. Now, there's another scene. Let's back up just a little bit. I thought this was really cool. When Dracula takes Jonathan to his room, there's a massive mirror all the way across his dresser.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you see Jonathan, and Jonathan does not see Dracula, and he doesn't ask him. So,
Well, the funny thing about that,
would you ask if you're standing there with somebody and you don't see the reflection in the mirror? Are you going to say something to him, or are you just gonna, I'm out, I'm out?
Well, well, yes. Yeah, I'm gonna say, and it was so funny because they showed that part, and Dracula's holding the candles, right? So they
Yeah,
showed her. You don't see Dracula, but you also don't see the candles neither.
yeah. I think you don't. Well, to be fair, also you don't see the reflection of his clothing he's wearing either.
You know what? In so many years, you know that they always show Dracula when he's in the mirror with the clothes would disappear too.
Yeah, so
Huh.
I guess everything, I guess if they're going to do it like that, you could say that everything Dracula's holding, touching, wearing, whatever, is not reflected also. So,
Yeah, that's a new.
really, you know what? You bring a good point. It might have been neat if he had set down the candles and then the candles appeared. That would have been really cool.
That would have been cool. Oh, whoever's listening, if you're a future director and you want to do a Dracula film, please do that.
Yeah, go ahead, go do that. Well, you can do that with any vampire movie, really. So, I mean, but because if you watch in the book, it's a little bit longer. There's a little bit more happening. He doesn't the first night decide, oh, I'm out. But the first night, Jonathan decides he's out because I think because he saw that reflection in the mirror. Now it gets another couple of other cool things Jonathan does. Jonathan scaled the wall of the castle in the book quite a few times because he ended up being locked in his room as he went through everything with Dracula. Now in the book, and I know you've gotten through some of this, and they say this in this movie, but we don't see any of it at all. Where Jonathan says, "Couldn't you have done this by mail? I mean, I've enjoyed the trip. I enjoy coming out here, but wouldn't this have been better for you and cheaper if you'd done this by mail?" And Dracula tells him, "I'm moving to London, and I want to learn about the culture, the people, the language."
Yes, yes. But there is one thing that I didn't see, and that's with Jonathan cutting himself.
Yeah, that's not in this one.
No.
Yeah, but because in the book there are some scenes where Dracula's talking and asking him questions about solicitors and how many solicitors have, asking about how speech, how is his mastery of the English language, which is kind of neat. And they talk a long time. And Dracula apologizes to him a couple of times. I've kept you up very late, my friend. Please go to bed. I will be away on business. He says it in the book. So it was neat to see some of that, a little bit of that in the movie. At least it was referenced. But he's because Jonathan scales the wall, goes down there, gets into Dracula's room, what he thinks to be Dracula's room, and then gets down into the crypt by going through Dracula's room. And in the book, there's a massive a pile of treasure just right there in Dracula's room. In the book. Let's move forward a little bit. Jonathan, the way he escapes this castle, like, okay. What did you think of that? How did he escape the castle? Let everybody know.
Well, he climbed out the crypt window, and now to me, I thought he missed the ledge part, but I guess he literally jumped out the window.
He just jumped out the window, and I'm watching the movie, and I don't remember them showing us water down there. Did they show us water down there? Did I blink and miss that? Because
he was like,
so he.
I don't think he knew it was water down there. I think he just jumped.
I don't know. I don't know if he would have jumped if he didn't know there's water. But it's like later on, he's awake, so he's over there in Romania in this movie, and then he wakes up outside of London. So I guess he did some traveling and then passed out again because he's awake, and Dr. Seward is by his bed, and he says, you were found in this creek bed, blah, 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 but now you're 50 miles outside of London. I think he was in Germany when they found him. I can't remember exactly. Do you remember?
Like he was coming from where was close to Romania.
Yeah, so I mean, really, especially traveling at that time, it was quite a long way from Romania to Britain. And he's like 40 or 50 miles outside of London at this point. And here is really where it goes off the rails even further, is because he says, you are in Professor Van Helsing's sanatorium or something like that. It's his hospital for the insane.
Right.
For the disturbed. And there's Dr. Seward, and he works there. And in the book, it's Dr. Seward's the head of that hospital. And here you have Van Helsing. So Van Helsing is played by Herbert Lom. And I have seen things that I liked Herbert Lom in. And I mean, he's okay in this, but I don't think he was allowed to. I thought he could have been better in this. What did you think? I mean, we're talking about Van Helsing. We have been, and how Van Helsing is never right in the movies, and this is not an exception.
Well, this one
Van Helsing in this. He's not Van Helsing from the book. How is he as Van Helsing? What do you think?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like him as Van Helsing?
No.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of blah. He's just kind of there to me, too. I wasn't that impressed with him being Van Helsing, which is just... I was disappointed in that because I've liked Herbert Lom and stuff I've seen him in, and this one is just like paint by numbers, going through the motions.
This Van Helsing, it was, like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I love this movie because it was way different from different, Dracula movies. But this Van Helsing, he was just like, he knew a certain things, but he didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
It seemed like, like he knows of it, but then he don't know of it.
Yeah, and he's got a really odd line when he's talking about vampires and he's talking about Dracula. And I'm like, well, what kind of a line is that? And who the hell would even say
Right.
that? And that's the line where he says, I have never met Dracula, but I feel I know him better than my own soul. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? You remember that line?
Yeah. 'Cause, there was question about it because I think they was looking at the wounds on the neck, and he was like, who said the name? Somebody said, I met with Count Dracula, and he was like, Dracula.
Yes. Yeah, he's like, you don't know who that guy is. I mean, as far as we know, for this point, Dracula's kept a low profile, is known in the area, but he's not really done anything. He's just kind of hanging out in his castle being Dracula,
Yeah, and
terrorizing the countryside.
that was another thing. Like they showed Jonathan in the sanatorium, but is it me or he's like Dracula's like right next door?
Yeah, because the property he bought is right next door to Dr. Seward's hospital. I mean, even in the book, it is.
Wow.
So they can at least get that detail right. Um,
Wow.
Now, see, in the book, and I don't think in this movie either. I mean, Harker doesn't really know Dr. Seward. He only kind of knows them because Mina is friends with Lucy, so he doesn't really know those people. Mina knows, and Mina doesn't know them that well, but she's met them because they're Lucy's friends. So it's not like Dracula was trying to buy a property next to Dr. Seward's.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like
Yeah.
you're Count Dracula. You brought this abandoned property. It has been abandoned for so many years. It's decrepit basically, and you buy
Yep.
this property, and it just so happened
But
that
it's
he's
right
next
next to
to
the hospital. Yes.
right. And I'm like, okay. And in Renfield's, he's watching the whole thing, which that's another story in his own because I didn't
Yes.
understand.
There you go. Klaus Kinski is Renfield. Now, Christopher Lee said that he thought that Herbert Lom and Klaus Kinski were miscast. This Renfield, you could take this Renfield out of this movie. He doesn't talk.
You don't do anything.
The Dr. Seward doesn't talk to him. He doesn't
He
know anything. Dr. Seward, they do give Renfield a backstory in this one, like they gave him in the 31 version, where
yeah.
he is corrupted by Dracula because he was in that country, and I think it was his daughter who was killed by Dracula.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess we could just assume that one of the brides is Renfield's daughter. Was it his
That
daughter or his wife? I'm sorry.
no, it was his daughter.
His daughter. Okay, so he's
Daughter.
now not going to talk because he's been traumatized and corrupted by Dracula. Which that's one of the cool things in the book is Renfield is suggestible and corrupted by Dracula, but you don't really know why or how. It's just left up to the reader to go, well, this is what I think happened, which is nice. But here they kind of spoon feed it a little bit.
Well, the thing about that part is you just don't know. Is this like you know there's a connection somewhere, but you don't know the connection. Like
Yeah.
like in the 1930 31, you know, Dracula was communicating with Renfield. You know,
Yes.
this one, I guess it was somewhat a communication, but then
Yeah.
it
He had
wasn't.
way more mental, telepathic
Yeah.
communication with him. Because there's one scene that's I found very strange. This was just very odd that Mina goes to Van Helsing and says, "I'd like to go see Renfield
Right.
because he might be the key to Dracula." Well, nothing in the movie to me so far has led me to believe Renfield's a key to Dracula. I haven't seen them think that Renfield's a key to Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Dr. Seward because he spends the most time with him. And Professor Van Helsing is like, "Yes, go see him." And you think Van Helsing would want to go. In the book, Van Helsing would have gone to make sure Mina was okay because he was that kind of a guy. He wasn't just, yeah, you go over there all by yourself and I will sit here. No, he would have gone because he really loved Mina and wanted to protect her. Really cared for them, which they never really show in the movies.
Huh.
And Seward and Van Helsing met with Renfield and tried to figure out what his deal was in the book. You see a few of those things in the book. You never really see that in the movies. But then she goes in there and says, I know you tried to help. What did he do that led her or Dr. Seward to believe that he tried to help? The only thing Renfield did is break his frickin' bars out of his window because I guess the hospital's that old and jump out the window.
Yeah.
What did I miss, Brandon? What did I miss?
You tell me, because couldn't tell
Yeah.
you. I love the movie, but some things was to do without.
Yeah, like I don't think Renfield was handled very well in this movie at all. I mean, he's just kind of. Thank you. I mean, he eats the flies.
Yeah, that was it.
I mean, it's almost like that's what the people that make the movies, a lot of them anyway, are just concentrated on is that part and not really. Well, how does he really work in the story? I mean, he's just kind of afterthought in this movie.
Basically, yeah.
Which that's kind of sad because I mean Klaus Kinski is not a bad actor. I don't think he was given good stuff to work with. Same with Herbert Lom. Like, well, he's not a bad actor, but you wrote a bad character for him.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing we did miss: there was no ship.
yeah, we don't get to see the ship in this, but there is a cool bit here too that they don't really do in a lot of the movies is Dracula hires a ship to take him back to Romania.
Right.
And that was neat because he's gonna, and that's quite a long voyage. If you look at the maps of where they had to travel on by ship,
Yeah.
England to get over there to that port, the port of Varna there in the Black Sea, that's quite a long journey. But yeah, in this movie, and we didn't even, I don't think we got this part yet. Quincy Morris is in this movie, but he's really just Arthur Holmwood.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the first movie that had Quincy Morris in the movie.
Fully in the movie.
Yeah, and and he's not, Quincy Morris is a Texan in the book. He's from Texas.
Yeah, but he didn't look like Texas in this one.
Yeah, so I mean, he really is just Arthur Holmwood. They just picked a name and used it. He's just Arthur Holmwood. But I mean, they used his name, and this is really the first time Quincy Morris has been in the movie, and he's a vampire hunter. So they don't have all the vampire hunters in it. They always just have parts here and parts there. So yeah, that's fun. But they take the train. They go by land, and Dracula goes by sea, and of course they beat him.
Yeah, of course. That was really smart, to be honest.
Yeah, it was, and in the book, that's a really cool bit because the vampire hunters split up. Part of them go by boat, and the other half go by land. And they're trying to figure out where Dracula is and how to keep ahead of him, which is really a neat part of the book. And it's not really done that well in any of the movies. And honestly, that would really kind of be a difficult thing to do in the movies. So, I mean, I can kind of see why they don't do that, but I don't feel like they really ever try either.
Way how they do movies nowadays, I can see them actually doing, like, some people say if they actually try to follow the book true to its origin, this would be like a 6-hour, 8-hour movie.
It could be, but what they could do nowadays, with the way streaming is and with the way everything is, they could do a nice.
Oh, never thought of that.
You do a nice 2-part, 3-part movie like that, and there you have it. I mean, you look at the way some of these TV shows are looking now; they look really good, but they're not going to do that. I think Dracula is cursed to never ever have a adaptation of the book to the screen where you're like, wow, that really is it. Maybe we'll do the 77 BBC one next, because in my mind that is the closest one.
Really?
Yeah, but let's finish. We'll finish up with this. So that was neat, where they have Dracula go by boat and they go by land. That is in the book, so that is, in a way, that is close to it. But before that happens, Dracula goes and confronts Van Helsing and tries to take Mina with him, and that's kind of neat. That's kind of half-assed from the book. That does happen in the book. The couple of scenes before that, where Dracula lures Mina to a theater, that doesn't happen. Like, okay.
Then they like lure her to like the graveyard or something like that.
He lured her to a theater by sending her a theater ticket. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that was neat. But anyway, you get to those guys, and they get to the castle. They stake the 3 wives. That's not how the wives are killed in the book. It's way cooler in the book. They've never done it that way right. That's never been done correctly, not even in Coppola's version. That's not done right, the way the brides are killed. And it's not the thing that really boggles my mind is some of these things that I'm saying that aren't done right are not hard to do. It's not difficult to do it, but they just can't help themselves, and I just don't understand it. They just can't stop doing it wrong, and I don't understand it. We're never going to figure that part out. We're not going to figure out why they do it wrong all the time. This was fun too. Did you notice how long it took Jonathan to stake the one bride he staked?
Yeah.
Like, Quincy's over there, he stakes the first bride, and Jonathan's over there, he's starting to stake the second bride. Jonathan goes to the third bride, and Quincy goes to the third bride. Jonathan's still staking the second bride. Jonathan's like, bam, and then blood just splatters all over his face. So he got careless there with the third bride, because the first bride there was no blood that splattered.
Well, they really didn't make noise neither. Like,
yeah, they didn't show any. There was no noise there. This is really a pretty clean movie. Really, it is PG. So I mean, if you're wondering, it's like, well, if I want to watch a Dracula movie with the family, this one's a pretty good one to watch with them. It's got a really fantastic performance by Christopher Lee. He's really, really good in this.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of good things about it. So I mean, it's pretty clean overall. The whole family could watch this. Really, they do not show the stakes going into the chests. So there you go. Now, are you ready for them killing Dracula? Oh my gosh, how did they get those boulders up on top of those walls to crush these poor gypsies with? The gypsies are transporting Dracula back to his castle, and those dudes are up on top of the wall, Quincy and Jonathan, and they throw these giant boulders down and killed 3 gypsies with these boulders. Now, these gypsies are corrupted by Dracula, under Dracula's influence. So, but they're not vampires. So why did they have to kill them? What do you think? Should you think that was okay that they killed the gypsies, or could they have done something better?
I really don't think they had a choice.
You don't think they could have shot a gun, gone down there and pointed guns at them and shot above their heads, and they would have scattered, or what? You think the throwing boulders on their heads was the best thing to do?
I want to say yeah, because Quincy had that little pea shooter he had when he was shooting.
He did, and we'll talk about that scene here in a minute, because that was very strange, that scene with his.
But honestly, it was like 2 against maybe 7.
There were quite a lot. There were quite a lot of gypsies, so
So they
I
would.
just thought they could have. I thought they could have done something to scare the gypsies away, and they would have run. But they frickin' crushed 3 gypsies with giant boulders.
Well, honestly, I didn't think it was gonna hit anybody. The way how where
Yeah,
it looked like it landed, so I was
yeah.
like, are they gonna scare them and they're gonna run? But yeah, one got smashed off the horse, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then they go down there, and you see 3 dead gypsies.
Yeah,
Oh, good work there. Okay. Um, now, I thought I thought Dracula dying was pretty lame in this one.
oh, it was. It's not a hammer's death, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty. They pry the lid off of the earth box, and what do?
They set no fire.
Yeah, they set it on fire, and instead of Dracula disintegrating into nothingness, and I wasn't that impressed with this effect. They have him turn into an old man.
Yeah, him revert back.
Yeah. Now, and we do get to see Dracula, and I think we skipped this a little bit, but this is really cool because it's really subtle through the movie when he reverts from being old to young. So you see him once, and he's got some really dark hair and a dark mustache, and looks really young. You can tell. I just think they did that very well in this movie. I just wanted to make sure we said that.
Yeah, it was. Oh, you know what? We skipped Lucy part.
We did skip the Lucy part. Let's go back to that. So there is a big moment in the book about that, and when you get to it, I mean, it's very creepy, and it's told through newspaper clippings too. She is called the Bloofer Lady.
The Bloofer Lady.
She does go and kill a bunch of kids.
Oh.
Yeah, so she goes and kills a whole bunch of kids before they track her down. And in this movie, Van Helsing just runs over to Lucy when they find her and stakes her.
Right.
That's not the way it is in the book. Coppola does get this right. But Van Helsing says that the one who loved her the most and the best should set her free. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to take that away from Arthur. Well, this movie, it's Quincy. So in this one, it's just kind of like you kind of want to see those bits of Van Helsing, but they never show those. So he just runs over to her and just stakes her. And he just looks at Arthur. He gives him probably the worst thing to do, in my mind. Gives him the worst thing to do. What's he give him to do?
Behead her. Do it now.
Use your spade and chop her head off.
Do it now.
Oh, thanks. You're not going to let me be the one to set her free, but you want me to just chop her head off? Okay. Okay. I mean, what did you think about that scene? You know, if we ignore the book and everything in the book, was that a good scene?
It was okay scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was okay, but I mean, if you want that to go by the book, it doesn't.
You know what give me the staking? Like you watch other ones that do the staking, it's not that long.
Yeah, but they're using a wooden mallet too.
Yeah, they are using a wooden mallet.
Some of the other ones are using like these metal hammers, and these guys are like, we're just going to use these wooden mallets. Like, okay, they must like it. I don't know, but
forever. I was like, golly.
So, yeah, so Dracula is dead, and the pea shooter scene. I did not. So the vampire hunters, Van Helsing, Doctor Stewart doesn't go with them. Okay.
Oh, he went with them this time.
Was he over there in the Carfax Abbey when this scene takes place?
Yes.
Okay, so they're all over there, and for some reason, all of the taxidermied animals that I'm assuming they were there when Dracula moved in just start barking at him and yelling at him. And those guys are terrified of these taxidermied animals. And they actually move. They just kind of move around a little bit, don't really do much, but make a lot of noise. This goes on too long for me. And then that's when we get to see Quincy use the pea shooter and shoot at the taxidermied animals. Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I don't understand choices like that? What is the point of that? There's plenty of other things they could have done, but they did that.
Yeah, they used this little bitty pea shooter that had like 12 rounds in it, and I'm sitting there like it looked like it was shooting them in the head. They
Yeah.
He didn't realize it wasn't doing anything. Like he just kept shooting.
Yeah, and
So,
they're it's obviously some supernatural thing is happening to these taxidermied animals, and you guys are cowering against the wall. Ugh.
they,
Ugh.
their mouth wasn't moving or nothing like that. They was just
No. Just no. It's enough of this. So um I did kind of like the sparseness of a lot of the rooms.
yeah.
A lot of them were bare. I thought that was pretty kind of neat. Um, I suppose the sets are okay. They're passable. They're okay. What do you think?
I like the sets. I like definitely um Renfield's a sane room because he took their food and splashed it up against the wall.
Oh,
And
yeah. He decided to smear his food all over the wall.
Yeah, and it stayed there the whole movie.
Yeah, it did. They did not clean his room up. I'm assuming they fixed his window.
Yeah.
But they didn't clean his room up, so I'm glad he didn't smear feces all over the wall because they wouldn't have cleaned that up.
Well, that was funny because I thought he was because he dug in that little toilet thing.
He did dig in his toilet, and he kept a box in there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's about to take poop put it on the wall. Nope, he pulled out this little box. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Far in that.
That's right. That's right. Gee whiz.
I'm gonna put my hand in my toilet and pull out my thighs.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of odd choices. Now, one thing I really, really did like, I really liked the score.
Yes.
I thought that was really good and memorable and creepy.
It was.
So
it did set the tone for mostly all the dark scenes. The score set the tone for it. Like you kind of figure like something's about to really go down, and
yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, so for you, so far we've done 31, Dracula, the Hammer, Dracula 58, and now this one. Is this your favorite one of those that we've done so far?
Actually, yeah.
It is really okay.
I mean, there's some quirks in there that don't really make any sense, but I guess it's the beginning and the difference that it's not a love story.
Yeah.
Also, too, he had a stroke. Is that in the book?
No. I mean, I don't know why they did that, but he's not in the chair that long.
He's not. Excuse me. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, I don't know if that's in the book or not.
Yeah, he doesn't have a stroke. I mean, it was just so strange. It's like they didn't know what to do, but they needed to pad the runtime or something like that. It's like, let's have him have a stroke. Or they had a wheelchair there, and they're like, look at that. We've got a period wheelchair. We're going to use it. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that made no sense to have him have a stroke.
This is my favorite movie. The probably certain things that didn't make any sense, but I guess, like I said, from Christopher Lee's and some of the stuff that they recited from the book, that the parts that I know, it's one of my favorites because, like I said, it's not a love story. It's not. He wasn't in love with Mia, and he killed Lucy because he wanted to drink her blood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I like this one, but you like it more than me.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough for me to go back to this one again and again like there is with 31 and the 58, except really for Christopher Lee's performance. I mean, really, that's really about it for me in this one. He's fantastic in it, as he is in all the times he played Dracula. He's fantastic in those.
He carries the movies. Like, even in the Hammer movies, Christopher Lee really didn't talk, but he carried the movie.
He did, absolutely. All right, so we will come back with another Dracula movie. I think we've said everything we can say about this one at this point.
Yeah.
Did you have any final thoughts, Brandon, that we didn't touch on yet?
That I found out that the name was originally called Bram Stoker's Count Dracula. That's basically the only thing.
Yeah, because I think you're right. I think this was marketed also a little bit as finally the book on film, something like that. Okay, very good. So you would watch this again? You'd recommend it?
Yeah, actually, I did watch it twice, so yeah, I'll watch it again.
Okay. I might watch it again someday. I would recommend to people to check it out just for Christopher Lee's performance.
Oh yeah, Christopher loved doing this particular Dracula.
Yeah, because he wanted to do the book,
Right.
and that was always something that frustrated him, was they never did. This one is, at that time, I think even at that time, this is the closest one. So yeah, there we go. Okay, we will come back with another Dracula movie that is telling the story of the book. And if you guys are enjoying this, let us know. And if you are sick and tired of us talking about Dracula movies, let us know. How about that, Brandon? You think somebody's sick and tired of us talking about Dracula movies? They're skipping these episodes?
No.
Okay.
That it'd be the choosing of the night to become.
That's right. Dracula will send the wolves after you.
Yes, he will.
All right. All right. We will see you guys next time.
Later, guys.